My wife said, "My high school sweetheart has returned to town as a millionaire. And now I feel you're no longer suitable to be my husband." I smiled softly and simply replied, "Then let's end this." A week later, she kept calling me in panic and tears. But at that moment, I was in London with my personal secretary. My wife looked me straight in the eyes when she said it. Calm, almost rehearsed, as if she'd been practicing the line for weeks. "My high school sweetheart has returned to town as a millionaire," she announced, her voice steady but her fingers trembling ever so slightly. "And now I feel you're no longer suitable to be my husband." For a moment, I simply watched her. Not angrily, not even hurt, just observing. The way she stood a little taller, like she'd already stepped into a better life. The way her lips curled in a strange mix of pity and excitement. She spoke as though she were trading in an old appliance for a newer model, emotionless, transactional. She expected me to break. I could see it in her eyes. She thought I would beg, cry, plead, bargain, anything to keep her. But the truth was simpler than she imagined. Our marriage had ended long before she dared say the words out loud. I had felt it in the way she stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings, in the way her phone suddenly had passwords for privacy, in the way she dismissed my small victories but celebrated every story she heard about wealthier men. She didn't leave me today, she left months ago. Today was just her giving it a name. So when she finally declared her verdict, thinking she was shattering my world, I simply exhaled, almost relieved. Then, I said softly, "Let's end this." Her face froze. She wasn't prepared for that answer. Not from the man she assumed would cling to her. For a second, she even looked offended, like I'd ruined the dramatic scene she had planned. She didn't know. She couldn't possibly know. I wasn't the weak, dependent husband she thought I was. And I had my own plans. Plans she was never meant to be part of. She thought she was trading up. She thought she was stepping into a new life. She had no idea she was the one about to fall. 1 week later, she kept calling me in panic and tears, but I wasn't even in the country anymore. My wife and I had been married for 5 years. 5 strangely uneven years that looked perfectly normal from the outside, but felt increasingly fragile from within. When we first got married, we were just 2 young adults trying to build a future together. I worked long hours in a mid-level tech position, earning a stable income. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. I didn't drive a luxury car or flaunt designer suits. I preferred quiet growth, slow and steady. She, however, always carried a small spark of hunger for something bigger, something shinier. To her, life was meant to be lived in grand gestures, expensive vacations, and the kind of social status that turned heads at dinner parties. She didn't say it outright in the early years, but I could feel it growing like a shadow behind her smiles. Where I valued consistency and loyalty, she valued image and ambition. Where I believed in building wealth quietly, she believed in displaying success loudly. We loved each other once, but our values, they were never truly aligned. It wasn't until later that I learned the full story behind her sudden dissatisfaction. Long before we met, she had a deeply emotional, intense high school romance. The kind of relationship people write nostalgic paragraphs about on old Facebook memories. Her high school sweetheart, Daniel, had been the golden boy, popular, charismatic, the kind of teenage dream every girl fell for. They broke up when he left for a foreign university on scholarship, and her parents pushed her to let go of childish distractions. For years, she told me he was nothing but a distant memory, a past chapter, a silly puppy love story. Except it wasn't. Daniel went abroad, built a career, and eventually became a millionaire after launching a successful startup. His return to town made headlines in local business circles. And when she heard he was back, well, that was the beginning of the end. At first, I didn't notice anything unusual. But slowly, small details began to shift around me. She started dressing differently, tighter dresses, bolder colors, higher heels. Not the comfortable outfits she used to wear at home, but the type that looked curated for attention. She began spending more time getting ready before leaving the house. Longer makeup sessions, more frequent spa appointments, sudden interest in expensive skincare brands she'd never cared about before. Then came the secrecy. Her phone, once left casually on the couch or kitchen counter, now became an extension of her body. She guarded it fiercely. She started smiling to herself while texting, the corners of her lips lifting in that soft, dreamy way she hadn't smiled at me in years. Late night, girls' gatherings that were never posted on social media. Afternoons she claimed she spent at yoga class, but her gym bag remained suspiciously too clean. A sudden, intense focus on her appearance and her future. Piece by piece, it all painted a picture she probably thought I was too oblivious to see. I wasn't. I noticed every change the way a man notices the weather shifting before a storm. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wasn't interested in drama or desperate attempts to hold together a marriage that was already dissolving from her side. If anything, my calmness confused her. She mistook it for weakness, for passiveness, for dependence. She thought I was the kind of man who needed her more than she needed me. A safe, stable, boring option she could abandon the second something more exciting came along. And perhaps anyone watching from the outside would have agreed. I was quiet. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't demand explanations. I didn't cling. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that my silence wasn't weakness. It was preparation. While she thought she was subtly climbing toward a better life, I was watching the pieces align exactly as I expected. She believed she was in control of the story. She wasn't. She was simply playing her part in it. And the day she finally delivered her dramatic declaration, the one she thought would crush me, it only confirmed what I had already known for months. The marriage had ended long before the words were spoken. The conversation that ended our marriage didn't erupt like a storm. It unfolded with a strange, icy clarity, calm voices, controlled expressions, and a finality that felt surreal. She stood in the living room, arms crossed, chin raised as if she were presenting a well-prepared speech. There was confidence in her eyes, the kind you see in someone who believes they've already won. "I've thought about this for a long time," she began. "And I realized, I deserve a better life. Something more aligned with the future I want." I didn't interrupt. I let her speak. "I want comfort, security, luxury, a lifestyle you can't give me." She swallowed, but her voice remained firm. "And now that he's back, a man who actually matches the life I deserve, I can't stay in this marriage anymore." There it was. The confession wrapped in entitlement. She truly believed wealth equaled worth. "And you're sure this is what you want?" I asked quietly. She exhaled, relieved I wasn't fighting back. "Yes, I'm choosing the life I should have had." I nodded once. Calm, controlled, almost detached. "If that's your choice," I said softly, "I respect it. Let's end this." Her eyes widened. Just for a second. Shock replaced triumph. She had expected tears, arguments, begging. Instead, I gave her acceptance. "Just like that?" she asked slowly, disbelief creeping in. "Just like that," I replied. "I won't hold you back from the life you want." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. For the first time, I saw uncertainty flicker behind her perfectly curled lashes. But it was too late for second thoughts. The first week after our separation was quiet, strangely peaceful. I moved to the guest room, then into a short-term apartment while the legal process began. In those early days, she floated on a cloud of delusional optimism. She truly believed her high school sweetheart, Daniel, would come rushing back into her life the moment she was free. She styled her hair differently, bought new dresses, and checked her phone obsessively. Every notification made her straighten up. Every vibration gave her a hopeful smile. But it didn't take long for cracks to appear. When she texted him long messages reminiscing about the past, he responded with short, uninterested lines. "Hey, thanks. Yeah, been busy. Maybe catch up sometime." The tone was unmistakable, cold, distant, almost dismissive. Still, she convinced herself he was just overwhelmed or still processing everything. She fantasized about him showing up with flowers, about them rekindling their legendary romance. But days passed, then a week, and she gradually learned the truth. He wasn't prioritizing her. He wasn't even thinking about her. To him, she wasn't a soulmate returning into his life. She was an option, a possibility, a nostalgia-driven distraction, nothing more. Meanwhile, I kept myself busy. I met with my lawyer, signed every required document, filed for divorce citing emotional abandonment and irreconcilable differences. All assets I owned prior to the marriage, my old investments, my equity shares, my pre-marriage savings, were transferred securely into accounts under my full control. Efficient, smooth, without the slightest hesitation. While she lived in her fantasy, I was quietly finalizing the end. The breaking point came on a Tuesday morning. I was packing a suitcase when my phone buzzed with a notification from a mutual friend's social media post. The caption read, "She said yes. Congratulations to Daniel and Emily." Attached were photos. Engagement photos. Daniel, my wife's soulmate, smiling with his fiancée. A beautiful ring on Emily's hand. A wedding date already set. I didn't react much, but I knew this would shatter her. And it did. Within hours, she discovered the post. Maybe through friends. Maybe through stalking. Maybe through pure panic. I'd never seen her call me so many times. Before, 30 calls in a row, then 50, then 80. Her voice messages blurred with tears, begging me to please pick up, saying she made a mistake, that she didn't know any of this, that she needed to talk. Her friends messaged me too. She's devastated. She just found out he was never into her. She thought he'd leave his fiancée for her. Please talk to her. She's falling apart. Some even admitted the truth. He never loved her the way she imagined. He told people she was just nostalgic drama. He said he wasn't interested in rekindling anything. As her illusions collapsed, she reached for the man she thought would always remain loyal. Me. But I didn't answer. Not a single call. I watched the phone light up again and again, vibrating on the table, her name flashing in desperate repetition. Then I pressed the side button. The screen went dark. Silence. I turned the phone off completely. Because the truth was simple. Her emergency was no longer my responsibility. 1 week after our separation, 1 week after she chose another man over our marriage, she was drowning in regret, heartbreak, and humiliation. And me? I zipped up my suitcase, grabbed my passport, and walked out the door. A single line closed the chapter. He was no longer in the country. People often assume the quiet one is the weaker one, the soft-spoken partner, the one who doesn't start arguments, the one who listens more than he talks. My wife had assumed that about me for years. So did the readers of this story up to this point, perhaps. A hardworking man, stable income, calm, almost passive, easy to underestimate. But the truth was far more complicated. I wasn't the simple, modest employee she believed I was. I wasn't struggling financially. I wasn't living a quiet life because I had no other choice. I was quiet because I wanted to see who she really was. 3 years before our marriage began falling apart, I co-founded a technology company. For a long time, we operated under the radar, building infrastructure, pitching to investors, expanding our platform quietly without media noise. Then, a few months before our marriage collapsed, everything changed. We secured a massive investment deal. Our valuation exploded. And almost overnight, I became a silent millionaire. But I never told her. I didn't upgrade my car. I didn't buy expensive watches. I didn't suddenly move us into a penthouse. Instead, I watched. I wanted to know if she loved me or the idea of a wealthier life. A test, perhaps unfair, but necessary. And when her ex-boyfriend returned as a flashy millionaire, her reaction told me everything I needed to know. It confirmed what had been building in my mind for years. But the twist didn't end there. The day I left the country, I wasn't escaping heartbreak or searching for distractions. I was boarding a flight to London for a major expansion meeting, one that would determine our next regional launch. And the secretary I traveled with? She wasn't some affair. She wasn't a rebound. She wasn't even my personal assistant. She was our company's COO, a sharp, composed, highly respected woman who knew the company inside out. A critical partner in the meetings ahead. Calling her as secretary was simply a convenient misunderstanding my wife leapt to on her own. I never corrected her assumptions. Why should I? She had already chosen what she believed, and I was already moving forward. But before leaving the country, I made sure everything was in place. Weeks earlier, when I began noticing her shift, her giggles at her phone, her secretive messages, the emotional cheating she tried to hide, I quietly backed up the message threads she forgot to delete. Screenshots, chat logs, voice notes, even photos of her meeting her ex under the guise of coffee catch-ups. Enough evidence to prove emotional infidelity. With these, my divorce attorney filed everything quickly and smoothly. She had little room to dispute. And because the majority of my assets were tied to investments made prior to our marriage, and because her emotional cheating was legally documented, she received significantly less than she expected. Barely a settlement at all. She left me for money. She ended up leaving with nothing. Life has a strange sense of symmetry sometimes. 3 days into my trip in London, I received an unexpected call. Her mother, a gentle woman who had always treated me with kindness. She sounded tired, ashamed, and full of heartbreak. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. She truly believed he would leave his fiancée for her. He told her she could have the life she always dreamed of. She was foolish, but she's paying the price now. I listened in silence. "She realizes now what she lost," her mother continued. "She wanted to apologize, to ask if you could give her another chance." For a moment, I felt a faint sadness, not for losing her, but for the wasted potential of who she once was. Then I answered gently, "I hope she learns something from this. Truly, but I'm moving on." There was nothing cruel in my tone. No anger. No revenge. Just acceptance. Her mother quietly thanked me for my kindness and hung up. I put my phone away, stepped out onto the balcony of my London hotel, and breathed in the cold evening air. A new life had already begun. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of the central London hotel, looking down at the streets glowing with yellow lights. The traffic flowed smoothly like silk ribbons, while the ancient buildings stood proudly against the misty night sky. A part of me still couldn't entirely believe my life had shifted so quickly. Just a week ago, I was the unsuitable husband, according to my ex-wife. Yet here I was, halfway across the world, preparing for a meeting with major European partners. I took a deep breath, not out of regret. There was just something in the London air that made one feel clearer, more alert, understanding what I had overcome and where I was headed. A gentle double knock sounded at the door behind me. My secretary, Emily, walked in with a stack of documents and an undisguised look of excitement. "Sir, we just received the official notification," she said, her eyes bright. "They signed the contract. The scope is even larger than anticipated. This is going to put your company on the international map." I laughed, a quiet sound but full of liberation. "Good. Thank you, Emily." Emily nodded, and I turned back to the window where the night sky stretched out before me. A new chapter had truly begun, not because I tried to force it, but because I was forced to step out of the small circle of life someone had tried to trap me in. The phone in my pocket vibrated. I took it out and looked at the screen, 27 missed calls from my ex-wife. Immediately, a 28th call started ringing. I let it ring, silent, just letting the sound linger as a reminder of the things that once hurt me and the things I had overcome. After about 10 seconds, I pressed the side button to end the call. The screen went dark, then lit up again with a flurry of messages. "Where are you? I need to talk. Please answer me. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Don't leave me like this." I read every word, but felt nothing but a strange serenity. No resentment. No regret. Just closure. I opened my contacts, tapped on her name, and selected block. It was just one tap, but it felt like lowering the final curtain on the past. A complete, decisive, and clean shutdown. Emily approached. "Sir, we need to be downstairs in 10 minutes. I nodded, placing the phone on the table. Before leaving the room, I took one last look at the city of London stretching out before me, the place where everything was starting anew. And in that moment, I realized something. Some people leave you because they cannot see your best version. But that's okay, because there will come a time when you look back and know that their departure was the first step toward a life they were never big enough to imagine. I closed the door, leaving the desperate rings behind. And I ended my own story with the exact words she once spoke. She said I wasn't suitable to be her husband anymore. Turns out, she was right. I was meant for a life far bigger than what she could see.